Hello, everybody. Welcome back to SketchCraft Live, the podcast for our games, Comic Book Junkies, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, I'm Rob D. Today we're going to be doing commentary for Dragon Ball Z Ruffy. Joining me to help out in that today is Brandon Let Heavy James. Brandon, say hello.
Hello.
Alrighty, I got to stop clicking. I don't have to move this. I just click I'm working out all the issues, folks. So, basically, I'm working on a Dragon Ball Z piece. And before I get started with the actual art, I like to do this thing called a Ruffy, where I sketch it out. It's like a thumbnail sketch. A little bit more detail on that. Kind of helps me work out the characters, all the lighting before I start. So let me just go ahead and cue this up. Brandon, go ahead and cue yours up.
All right.
Oh, let me move to the Cintiq. Here we go. And Brandon, go ahead. Ready? Hit play now. All right. So basically what you're seeing here is my silhouette. This is what I call a Ruffy silhouette, where I block in the basic shape of the characters I'm going to draw in a flat silhouette, flat color. And then I draw into the shape. Now this is sped up 12 times, the drawing speed. This is going to be Goku right here. I'm going to be doing a little fireball action. This helps me work out all the basic shapes and get the perspective and stuff down. Drawing into silhouettes is just basically how I draw.
And you love doing this one, right? Because you love Dragon Ball Z.
Look, I don't dislike Dragon Ball Z. I like the artist, Akira Toriyama. I'm
Uh,
just not I don't follow the series, man. I follow the art. I think the art is cool. And I like
right.
the game on the Game Boy Advance, Dragon Ball Z Adventures. It's a 2D side scroller. So,
So when you do something like this, where it's a very popular series, do you kind of try to stay true to the art, or just kind of use references such as like maybe the hair or the outfits or things like that?
I open up the reference, you know what I mean? But sometimes I go my own way, sometimes I don't. Like when I did the Spectre commish, I made up my own version of the Spectre because I'm not drawing that. Uh, if something's really old and corny, like the
Hmm.
Spectre, I'm doing my own version, you know? A Dragon Ball Z works pretty good. So like I'm not gonna sit there and redraw poses that Akira Toriyama did. Like you're not gonna be able to take this shit and be like, oh, Rob snagged that pose from that cover and just redo a
Right.
bunch of shit, you know? I just made up the silhouettes, based on compositional issues. So, but what I am going to try to do is make sure that that they fit the look, classically of Dragon Ball Z here. I'm not trying to reinvent that look here,
Hmm.
um, because it's the first time out. Maybe a couple years of this, and I go, hey, here's my version. You know what I mean? Something a little bit more. This would be
Definitely,
something that
definitely not like the movie.
Yeah, this would be something that I know could get onto, a cover of a magazine. If this was going to be a Dragon Ball Z, retrospective,. I could get this on.
Hmm.
It's enough of how I draw mixed with how they're known to look, you know. So I fluctuate between it's kind of like actors who just act or actors who become characters. Like Bruce Willis is Bruce Willis in every movie.
Right.
Meanwhile, Gary Oldman just disappears into the role every time he goes into a different film. I mean, he was, Lee Harvey Oswald in JFK, and then he's Sirius Black, and then he's Professor, Commissioner Gordon.
Right. Sometimes you can't even. This is on a tangent, but sometimes you can't even tell it's the same actor. Kind of like when people look at your art sometimes and they're like, "You did that," and you're like, "Yeah," and they're like, "But you did this right here with the watercolor," and you're like, "Yeah." I think it's good to have that versatility where you can maneuver between things and still surprise people.
Yeah, and I mean it's also just gotta know when you gotta know when it's a good time to lay down the style and when it's not. Case in point, when Jim Lee draws a Scooby Doo cover, probably not the best time to throw down those Wildcat anatomies, you know?
Right.
You know. Now, that being said, I don't want Mobius throwing down, when he was alive, if he would throw down Scooby Doo, you kind of want to see, like that. It's a hard thing to do, but I knew in this case people were kind of looking to me to just sort of, you know, draw that PlayStation magazine cover
Hmm.
version of a Dragon Ball. Now the problem here is, so here I'm drawing like young Goku. People are like, well, how come that isn't Goku's kid? You drew Goku twice. And I'm like, well, I plan on using this in Game Cave. And last I checked, that Goku's kid shit did not exist in 1994, 95, or 2001. Like, that's kind of a newer thing.
Right. Gohan, I think is his
Yeah,
name, right?
Gohan's rather new, right?
Yeah.
So, unless Gohan was out at the time of the Game Boy Advance game, which he wasn't, it's because that's why the Game Boy Advance game features young Goku. He's going in right there because I plan on using this shit in Game Cave. So, I don't care. Like,
Plus, you can't. I mean, with something that has like, was it 20 years of a run? It's hard to please everybody and get every character, every look, every. You kind of just have to pick and choose
unless I plan on
which
drawing
ones
22 characters, which,
you don't.
I'm going to with some properties, but not with this.
No. Yeah.
But I looked at the characters that existed at the time of the Game Boy Advance game, and I haven't drawn the Game Boy Advance in here. I have on like all my other Ruffies. The
Hmm.
reason why I didn't work the game into this one is because I don't think most people would know that game. And
Right.
and
I didn't know it existed.
if I drew a Game Boy Advance in there with the game, people might be like, "Why didn't you draw an Xbox?" I didn't want to hear that, so
Yeah.
I skipped it. Akira Toriyama, big eyes, tiny little mouth. Tiny little mouth. Chipmunk mouth. You see how I just rescaled and warped the head into perspective?
Right. Do you like ever step back and look at it to do that? I mean, or do you kind of
Yeah,
just
that's why I zoom out, actually. The zooming out is why I'm zooming. A lot of people are like, you draw at a distance. I'm like, well, yeah, because I have to see it. Like, you don't draw zoomed the fuck in. Like, when you do the
right?
final lines, you do, but not during composition.
If you're too close, you might get lost in the piece.
Here I'm checking his legs to see how they'll be covered up by the dragon. So I can see which is by the serpent.
Uh,
So I don't want to make a big deal out of his leg placement. Most of the shit's gonna get covered up.
and I think right here you're showing something cool that if you're drawing digitally, whoever people are watching, if you draw digitally, make sure you draw through the characters, connect the legs, connect the torsos. You can always erase, if especially if on a separate layer, but at least make sure you connect all the pieces to show how the body forms. Because I hate when you see someone's like torso over here and then their kneecap is like 4 panels way over too far, and you're just like, I don't think they drew through the bodies in front of them. I think they just guessed where that other leg or arm would come out of.
Yeah, the animation term is drawing through.
Uh huh.
So I was sort of taught, well, I taught myself, but I did have one or two instructors in college who used to work at Disney, so they managed to instill some of those fundamental cores, and one of them was drawing through, which fortunately I'd already heard at Comic Con back in the day. So people like Neil Adams always stress that stuff. And there I thought maybe I might put the Dragon Ball hand with his claw up there, but the hand just kind of got in the way. There, just erase out, erase out, erase out. So I've drawn through, but I'm erasing out, right?
Hmm.
There I'm trying a couple different mouths. Like maybe his mouth is too small. Maybe I've gone too chipmunk. Another reason for putting Go now, does Gohan have the staff?
Uh, it's been so long since I've.
Yeah. I use that one because of the staff. Anyway, so I like the lines, and now I'm moving to the basic background. Now I'm basing this color scheme off the Game Boy Advance game, the first level, which features blue skies, green backgrounds, and these little yellow hills. I like the color scheme, so I basically block that in, and then I go and create these little rough flats. I'm just quickly filling in each character with a solid color based on the new lines,
Hmm.
which don't accurately match up to the silhouette, so those pieces are unusable. Um, and then I'll lock the transparency and color in their details. By locking the transparency, click this little lock up here in Photoshop. If you look at the cursor, there's this right here, right next to lock. That's lock the transparency. If you click that, anything you paint on in that layer will only be colored. So it won't color outside of things that aren't in there. See, there's all these transparent backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So case in Goku, he's orange, right? So when I
Right.
lock the transparency and I paint skin tones, it won't fly off into the canvas.
Uh, that's good too, just so you can see where everybody's at.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
this just gives me a first pass at the art, you know? This is the ideal way I like to work, you know? And look, it takes an extra, this Ruffy takes like 8 hours, you know, to do, essentially, between 4 and 8, give or take the complexity. But I have a good first pass at the art. And people go,
Right.
that's a lot of time. I'm like, well, you know, Drew Struzan, when they did movie posters back in the day, they'd spend a whole week getting Ruffies put together, send them out, and then the suits would pick and choose, and then they'd go and spend the next week making the final art, you know?
Right.
So it's actually not that slow compared to how things used to get done.
Even so, like, why rush your art? You know what I mean? People are,
Well, deadlines, right?
yeah, but I mean, if it's something like this where, I mean, there's a somewhat deadline, but
But heaven help you curve the sword, right, Brandon?
yes.
Now, what I've done with the line arts is I've turned them this dark maroon red, and then I set it to overlay, and that's this layer 53. Then I duplicate that layer, and I set that to multiply or color burn or hard light, depending on how I like it, about 60%. Half the time I'll set to multiply, and then I'll select the skin tone areas and cut those out of those lines and set those to hard light because the hard light mode gives skins that fleshy color
Hmm.
more than the multiply. And this gives me those colored lines without having to go in and manually color them myself. See, the blues end up nice purpley dark, the blacks end up with dark lines, the oranges have those nice red. See, the skin tones have that skin tony,
Right.
fleshy color without having to go and select those lines and manually paint all those colors in. And I'm working in RGB, but I'm previewing in CMYK. So these greens will print like that. I'm not picking colors that are going to be like super lime and you're never going to be able to see them. Now, I don't think, yeah, I caught up on. Oh, so that's where I lost the ball. I was like, where did the sixth ball go to? I lost it right there. Because then I look back, I'm like, there's only one, two, three, four, five. Yeah, there was. But initially I had like only 5 of them on there. I had to go and
Hmm.
add another one of those Dragon Balls. And that little glow rough is just it's a layer with an outer glow effect put on. And these flats I'm laying down are based off flats colors that I've been building up for the past few years.
Hmm.
So I have 2 or 3 different kind of blacks. This is like the purpley black, and then this is like the cooler black, the warmer black and the cooler black. See the difference?
Right. And I noticed too, like, if you have something you like as far as colors or gradients or things, make sure you always save them, for future use. Same with references and high res pictures and things like that. That.
Yeah, I don't like a lot of swatches, like the swatch files in Photoshop. I always end up deleting them because of the way they're
Hmm.
set up. So I like to have a separate file, and then I like to have them in character so I can select different skin tones. I have 2 different Caucasian skin tones, 2 or 3 different, darker skin tones and different ethnicities. So
And does that
always,
kind of just keep your when people are going through a portfolio, keep the art colors kind of consistent, so it's not.
yeah, that keeps it all also in a piece. They're harmonious, like, and I can alternate. I can give if I wanted to. If this guy was like really buff, I can give him more of a tanner color complexion. But they're all designed to work with one another.
Hmm.
Now, though I will say this: see how the white is purple here? I did notice when I put this lighter color underneath with the lines, I had to change this to a multiply right here because it was not appearing. I think I had it set to a hard light. So I had to select the white and then on the lines, make sure those are cut out and then duplicated, set to multiply. Otherwise it wouldn't have appeared. Those little layer tech tricks. But you do something at this, this rough, and this is rough, but I mean, you do something at this level, you hand it off to an employer, they know what you're going for, you know?
Right.
Now here I'm going to add these little plushies of the villains. This is how I snake in a few extra characters without having to put a ton of
Well, it's
effort in.
funny, even after you finish this piece, people are like, wow, this looks amazing. I want to buy it. And you're like, this is just the rough draft. I still got to draw this for real. So I mean,
I
it's
wish this was enough to sell. I mean, like
right,
two
but I mean,
people said that, but the other 50 fucking backers, they want the real. You know what I mean? Like, I wish that were so. Yeah, I didn't even have their silhouettes blocked in yet. I was gonna wait until the shit was done before I added it. So, and if I got room, I'll snake in a few Easter eggs here and there as I'm drawing it. Depends on
mhm.
how long things are taking. If things are going by pretty smooth, I'll take 4 or 5 different other characters and
I don't think you need to add
fit them in little
more.
plushies. But like
Nah,
little keychains and
nah, you're good. You're good. No need to add more work for that guy who does the flats.
yeah, right? Extra little knickknacks.
Right. Easter eggs that I gotta
hmm
find when I'm trying to flat.
Yeah, Brandon's gonna appreciate a level of detail.
Always do. Yeah, I like the greens.
And so now I select all those colors, the flats, and make a duplicate, and then I fill that with this dark purple color, and I set that to hard light or multiply, depending on how I want the saturation. And then I'm
Mm,
throwing in a few of my, and what I'll do is I'll fill it with that color, and then in the mask, paint in the light sources. So I make it dark and paint in the light sources. Now we're almost done here. And if you're wondering, Rob, how do you select all the layers? Just hit Control Alt and right click on your mouse or your keypad or whatever, and you can jump to any layer in Photoshop. Just click on whatever you want, Control Alt, right click, and it will automatically jump to that layer. I just find painting in the light sources easier than painting in shadows. You know?
Control Alt right. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you of all people. So I'm using just the hard brush here to paint in the sources, but around the parts where, like we see where the orbs hit the dragon,
Hmm.
um, right after I paint in the hard light source, I'll use the little the softer paintbrush around the edges to smooth them out. Now you're wondering, why did I do this twice? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I recorded me doing those lights on my phone to post on Instagram to show people how to do this,
Huh?
and it recorded it all fucked up. So I had to go and do the lights again. Because promotion always gets in the way of productivity. Like, trust me on that. Only took 10 minutes. It's not that big a waste of time.
Right.
And so we'll wrap this up really quick with the glows. I'll say I'm doing a little edging here, a little bit of extra details. And then I'll make a
Just
duplicate to do second shades. This is second layer of shadow. I duplicate this layer and I'll set it to a darker color or a darker level of opacity. And I'll work in a second layer of shadow.
and then will this help when you actually do the final lines, or this is just kind of like for when you
Well,
go to color
this
it?
really helps with the final lines as well because then I know what I don't have to draw sometimes. You ever like these little I don't have to draw glow effects here. I don't have to draw.
Right.
I can trust certain things if they're wide open. I know, oh, that'll be color. That'll be cool. I don't have to worry about that. Or, oh, that's going to need more work. I'll have to add this. And then we'll add the fun part, the glows. Oh, here I'm doing actually, I sampled the blue to yellow and I set it as an overlay layer to tint the characters to the color of the world. And then now I'm going to add two kinds of glows, a blue and a yellow. This is a layer effect set to outer glow and a color overlay. So I pick the color I want, which is this white light, and I set the outer color glow to a blue to reflect this color, right? And then I'll do a yellow, a cream to a yellow right here to match the color of the orbs or the sun or whatever. So, and that's how they call this rim lighting. So nice. All right, Brandon. So that's about it. You have any questions? Well,
No, and I like the rim lighting. Just real quick before you finish that up, I like the just the blue glows off the hair. Just looks badass.
And so you just add a couple like hard light layers just to kind of add some little atmospherics with the blues. Throw a little green in there. Little flourishes, and then oh look, I squiggled in stars. Then I was like, do those stars glow? And I'm like, apparently they do not. So took that off. And that's that. All right. So let me come back here. Live gas. All right, so that's it, Brandon. We got some wrap up. You got any other questions, or you want to wrap up, or anything you want to ask about this before?
No, I think we covered it all.
You sure?
I think we were pretty thorough.
So again, folks, that gives me an excellent guide to the final product. I recommend you try drawing in silhouettes. Turn the opacity down, sketching over it. If you don't have Photoshop, you can always use markers, Sharpies. You know, take some tracing paper, go over it, photocopiers, whatever you got. So that's actually how I learned. It beats drawing stick figures with light boards, endless stick figures and light boards.
Right. I
Basically.
agree.
All right, buddy. Brandon, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Lead Heavy, Lead Heavy.
And as always, folks, links are below. You can find my Instagram, Brandon's Instagram, Ashley's, Wesley's, whatever, down there. Hit us up next time. We'll see you again shortly for another commentary. We're going to do a Hulk Saucy, so be sure to check that out.
Please share, like, subscribe, pass us around, all that good stuff that we need.
Whatever you can do to help, we appreciate it. Talk later, folks. Silhouettes are fun.